Hello and welcome to the show. This is Martin Willis and on the Everything Else show. And I'm pretty excited. We have Teddy Hadjiyska. Hopefully I pronounced that okay. She is coming right up. Now, if you search the Dyatlov Pass incident, her website comes up number 2. First is Wikipedia, and then number 2 is her website. She's done a lot of research into this, and we're going to be talking to her today. To me, after being in Russia for several visits over there, I've become fascinated with this case a number of years ago, actually prior to my visit to Russia, because it's just such a mystery, and there's so many interesting theories. We're going to be talking about all that, and also I got an email from Paul Stonehill, who's done some research into that, and I'm going to talk a little bit about one of his thoughts that he has heard out there that is also very interesting. So without further ado, we'll come on with our guest. Hello, Teddy. How are you?
Hi, Martin. Pretty good. Thank you for having me.
Sure. Now let me just see what's going on here. Let me just adjust a couple things. So for the listener who has not heard of the Dyatlov Pass incident, can you explain exactly what happened back in 1959?
Well, I really doubt if our listeners have never heard of Dyatlov Pass, and I can't really, it's like trying to drink from a fire hose if I have to explain the case. Okay, in 1959, 10 hikers started from Ivdel and for a 2-week hiking trip, which was in end of January. Beginning, they were planning to come back in February, so it was in the middle of winter. It was considered a very high category, so they had to carry everything with them and with the ski to go to Mount Otorten, which is not so high. Ural is not a very high mountain range. It's 1,234, I believe, meters high. Otorten, their goal. Well, they started and they never came back. So a lot of things happen in the mountain. That's not so weird. But the way they were found, so far for 58 years, there is no theory that can explain everything that happened. Well, what happened? On the 12th of February, when they were expected, nobody was surprised that they prolonged their trip because of the weather and everything. Then on the 20th, 21st, the search and rescue parties were sent. They found the tent. It was not covered with avalanche or anything. It was visible. And then the weird thing started from the tent because there were traces of barefoot people going, not in a panic, just walking towards the nearby forest on the slope down, like 1 mile down. And when they went there, they found the first bodies next to a fire. Campfire, a little fire, but a fire. And they were almost in their underwear and without any footwear. So they kept searching. So far, they were not alarmed. The next 3 bodies that they found showed some more troubling injuries, like self-defense injuries and small cracks in the skull. They still didn't. Well, they were it was strange that they were without their clothes, without jackets, without having any footwear. But when they found finally 2 months later the remaining 4, this is when the mystery just blew out, because the last 4 had injuries that no human can cause. And they were found in a snow hole, in a den, when they were absolutely capable to survive the night, whatever happened that night. And nobody can tell why couldn't they do it. They were killed in a very sadistic way, but the weird thing is that nothing can cause these injuries on the last 4. And no theory so far can explain how these injuries occur. I mean, we're talking about rib fractures on flail chest, and the skull is caved in a horrible way. That's not a butt of an automatic weapon or anything that caused these injuries. And missing eyeballs and ripped out tongue of one of the girls. And all around were scattered clothes and branches. I mean, they were prepared to spend the night and survive, but obviously something caught on them. And also there is radioactive clothes on some of them, which also deepens the mystery. So there are so many speculations, and people are intrigued of all this because nobody can give a full theory and answer all of the questions. Actually, the most the mystery is what happened at the tent. Why did they get out the way they did without their clothes, but not in a panic, in a very ordered way, on their own accord? They just start walking in a line down the hill, down the slope, and then what happened in the den with the last four? Obviously, it was one big trouble that chased them, but it started in one way, and then it kept chasing them until it killed all of them.
Now, the strange thing, too, is, first of all, if they did this
Martin?
If they did this...
I lost you.
Okay.
Did I?
All right. Okay, just work on your adjustment there. And
Yeah.
Can you hear me
I don't
now?
know what. Yes, I do.
Okay, so the strangest thing to me is, first of all, they cut themselves out of the tent, and they go out. You know, here's a place where they could survive, you know, almost any weather, and now they put themselves out to the elements. They cut themselves out of the tent, and for me to hear you say they walked in an orderly way, it's very strange why they wouldn't take at least clothing with them.
No, we don't know if they cut themselves out of the tent. First of all of the knives that we know that they had, the 3 Finnish knives and the Dyatlov pocket knife, were found back in the tent. They must have had more knives because they cut the branches down in the forest when they made the den and the firewood, but no knives were found. So I don't think they cut. I mean, that's the one. I mean, the first weird the point was the tent was cut from inside. That's true, but I don't think they cut the tent. And none of the researchers that in the books, and Rakitin, who is he's the god in the research about this incident. Nobody believes that they did it themselves. I mean, no matter, that's, I mean, we're not talking about them going nuts from infrasound or believing that there is the avalanche or a UFO on the other side of the tent and they try to escape from this side of the tent. I mean, everybody can take the time to get out from the entrance of the tent, and that will take much less time than cutting it off the way the tent was cut. I have a theory. I mean, it's not a theory. I can improvise and speculate how this happened. I mean, later on in the conversation, if you want me to.
Oh yeah. I mean, with all the research you've been doing, I would love to hear. Well, I want to go through all the different theories and why people came up with them. I mean, there's anything from Yeti to UFOs to this gravitational situation. It's
yeah, the gravity tunnel. I know, I have them all on the side. Yeah.
Now, so there's also signs that they tried to climb up a tree like 15 feet or something like that, 5 meters up a tree.
That's very natural. I mean, yeah, something was chasing them out of the tent. Okay, let me tell you my scenario. I mean, I haven't really did research. All I did is that there was so much information online that I kept bookmarking it and trying to figure out what happened, because I learned about Dyatlov Pass like 2 years ago, and I couldn't believe I haven't heard about it before. And I started just just wanting to learn what happened. And this is how I started the site, because first, because I'm a web designer, but second, because I wanted for myself to just have in one place all the information that I can dig up. And basically, later on, there is a new book about the Zolotaryov camera. Okay, one of the 4 people that were found last in the den had a camera around his neck.
Right.
And that wasn't the camera that he was carrying before while throughout the hike. That is the second camera. And when they developed, initially the negatives, nobody paid attention to the negatives of this camera because they were considered damaged and because they were very small white things on the photos. Later on, my scenario of what happened around the tent is that. Do you hear me, Martin?
Yes. Yep, we're all set.
I have.
Yep.
Okay.
Darn computers.
Martin?
Okay.
Do you want? Is it so bad if we continue on this speakerphone? Because I think my headset, it's something is wrong with it.
Okay, just disconnect it if you can hear me. Just go ahead and disconnect it. We'll see how the feedback is.
Okay, so you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Do you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So what I think is that because they said 2 of the people, Thibault and Zolotaryov were better dressed. They had some kind of footwear. I mean, not the shoes that you were go through the snow, but valenki, which is the inner shoe. And they said that there were traces of urine. So somebody went out to release themselves. So we speculate that these were the 2 men that went out. And there were always some kind of event, like lights and things in the sky, and that's very normal. That's very usual for the Arctic, and for this altitude and latitude. There are always some lightning and even sounds very weird. They're not weird for the local people. So
can I interrupt you just 1 second? When you removed your headset, the microphone changed, so it's hard.
It changed? Okay,
that's
okay,
better.
let me...
Yep. Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Right.
So I think that he went in to just get his camera to take some photos of what was in the sky, and he called the rest of the members of the group just to see what's in the sky. That's why I got them out without any clothes, because it will disappear in the shots he made with his camera were lasting about a minute or a minute and a half. So I mean, it's very natural to bring people from inside the tent in their underwear because they were just relaxing there and they wanted to see what's in the sky. And there are traces of steps of people that are just standing up next to each other. They're not walking, they're not doing anything, they're just in a line. And one of the shots of Zolotaryov's camera shows the top of 3 heads. It's like he's making a shot of something that's above the people in front of him in the sky. So if they were just looking at the sky, they were all out in their underwear. And what I think what happened is that somebody was watching them for a while. And they just took the opportunity while everybody was out and just pointed guns on them and told them, march down, die, freeze, or something. I mean, they just want them dead, but initially they didn't beat them back. I mean, there is one theory that maybe Slobodin said something, because the crack in his skull was caused very early in that night events, and maybe he was going down with that crack because he died first. So maybe they were not voluntarily just agreeing to go and die in the woods, but I think they were out when somebody marched them down.
So have there ever been other...
Hear me? Are we still...
Have there ever been other additional footprints? Can you turn your volume down just a little bit, please? Have there ever been additional footprints found that would collaborate this theory?
the scene was very contaminated. I mean, nobody was expecting to find them dead. So when they found the tent, they all rushed and start, digging up things and even cutting the tent. So we do have one print of a shoe with a heel. So, but we don't know if this is the shoe of one of the researchers or not. I mean, for sure, everybody was photographing the bare feet traces, but nobody was paying attention of the shoe, if there are any other the traces around. So it's a very contaminated the scene to start with. There are no traces of skis, but I don't believe that the skis will leave traces the same way the feet did, because we have all seen, I mean, I believe our listeners have seen the raised footsteps, which were preserved only because they melted part of the snow and because the winds were not so strong. So
right.
They just, the shoes wouldn't leave the same traces. No, they were not found. I mean, to answer your question, all of the research said that there are no footprints whatsoever, nothing around, which, makes it weird. But it doesn't mean that they were not. They just weren't found any.
Okay. Now, yeah, I'm getting feedback. So are you able to turn your speakers down a little?
My speakers.
Yep, just turn the volume down a little on those. So one that Paul Stonehill sent me, it was one of the theories is it was a KGB operation to disseminate CIA agents, and some of them persisted in the team where I'm just trying to understand what he's saying here, but also that some other tourists perished in that area later. Are you familiar with other tourists?
No. I don't think other tourists perished there. I mean, recently there was somebody that froze 12 miles or kilometers from there, but that's not a surprise. It's the mountains. I mean, of course people die in the mountains, especially if they're stupid to go alone. I haven't heard of any tourists. I have heard of an airplane with 9 passengers that crashed there and other things like that, but no tourists.
Okay. All right. So I'm still getting feedback. So this is so. Anyway, what do you think of all the different theories? Right away you'll see the debunkers saying that it was simply an avalanche that crushed the tent. I mean, there's so many holes in that theory, especially when it comes to the injuries that were sustained away from there.
It's not an avalanche. I mean, what happened in 3 different steps. First around the tent, then around the fire, then in the den. I mean, the tent wasn't covered with snow. The slope is not remotely dangerous for avalanches. This theory is just doesn't deserve the time.
Right. But let's talk about some of the possibilities. You kind of talked about what you thought may have happened, but what about some of the other possibilities of, for instance, military operations? That would kind of dovetail with what you were talking about, that they were forced down the hill.
What was the last sentence?
I said that would be similar to what you were talking about, that they were forced to go down the hill.
Okay, I didn't finish my scenario, which actually I was thinking today because I was expecting our conversation. It's nothing new in what I can say. Everybody knows that whatever was chasing them first, they thought they got away. That's why they started the fire. Then whatever was in the tent, and we think it ripped out the tent from inside, so they cannot not return, because they were trying to make these people dead by, freezing out. And they were staying in the tent, looking through the holes they did, and then they saw the fire down the slope, which was only a kilometer down. And they said, oh man, we have to go and kill them again, because this that they're gonna survive, so they go down. Some of the hikers hide around in the woods, and they know that the whatever is chasing them, it's no longer in the tent. That's why 3 of them try to go up to the tent. Another 4 hid in the forest. We know that they came back to take some clothes of their dead friends, the 2 around the fire, Doroshenko and Krivonishenko. So that was not a one-time. This was the military. They will just shoot them and then they just bury them in closed coffins, saying that something poisoned them. That they will make their parents sign that they will never say anything about the case. I mean, that's a very strong government there. I mean, they can do whatever they want. If it was the military, it will be all secret. The fact that all of the photos are public and all of the cases, everybody was putting their nose in this case. The only reason they closed the area and they banned all of the hikes for 4 years, because the military themselves, they didn't know what's going on and what caused them to die. Because yes, they had some tests going on there, but they weren't. I mean, this is not how you die if you come across a rocket or something. That thing was chasing them down in the forest, getting angrier that they're not dying. That they have to spend the whole night killing them, basically. And the army has bullets. They will kill them and bury them, and nobody will find them.
Wow. So what type of people would you imagine would be doing this?
Well, Svetlana says that it's statistically Mansi or Kanti, which is a little bit of a different people. They're not Mansi, but they live there. They're even more secluded than the Mansi. If they frequent these places, must be them, because KGB agents or whatever, they will just kill with weapons. Obviously, they had weapons because the 9 hikers were in the best shape. They were in top form, and they were very. Their character was not that they would be afraid. They will jump their attackers. Those had to be armed people, and not only one. They must have. I think Lev Ivanov said that they had to be 10 armed people to overcome them the way they did, because there is no sign of struggle or anything. If you're 9 people and somebody tells you go down the slope, agree and just say okay, we'll go down. They will try to fight it back. So I imagine that somebody must have had weapon, but I don't know if they had ammunition, because they never shot anything. They could have had weapons, but without ammunition. That's why they killed them the way they did. I cannot speculate why they killed them. I think that they didn't know how to handle the situation, because they wanted them dead, but they persisted not dying. They would have survived the night, and they could go back to the storage where they had food and everything. So they can take care of the situation. I don't think this was premeditated. I think somebody was watching them and was really hostile and really crazy. And I still cannot explain how they killed 3 of the last 4 members that died in the den, because those fractures must have become. They can be only caused by a very high velocity trauma, by pressure like from a blast, or if you fall from 7th floor. A high building like.
Yes, I heard.
It cannot be caused by jumping on their chest, even if they were, having some substances like a fly agaric or anything like that, because this is Svetlana's also theory. Because first of all, to achieve that high of a jump, you have to do it from a firm land. You cannot do it from a soft snow. You can only kick somebody and you can kill a person by kicking him in the face much faster than jumping. And also they said there is one blow. It's not several blows. There were not particles of the ribs. So it must be one blow that caused this flail chest and multiple fracture line trauma.
Wow.
So this cannot be just somebody kicking them in the ribs. That's why it's so. I mean, if somebody could explain how this might happen, we wouldn't be talking for 60 years about that. And it's getting more and more interesting. The more you read, the more. Because I don't explain the injuries. I mean, whatever happened around the tent is really mysterious. But, you know, people walking in their barefoot and somebody cutting the tent from inside, okay, it can happen. But I cannot explain what happened back in the den, because all the theories that they kept falling on their heads and causing these caved skulls, the problem is that there is no outside bruising, laceration, or whatsoever. So the only thing that can cause that is a high velocity trauma or a pressure or something. Nobody can cause that by kicking or, you know, beating with the wood piece or something like that.
Right.
They don't have any bruises. They were thought that they were just frozen until they cut them open, because they didn't have any signs of the injuries, inside injuries that they suffer.
Right. Now
and I guess, sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The Mansi natives, they're not actually themselves known for violence, right?
They didn't want anybody to intrude or to touch them. They didn't want to attract attention. I mean, the Soviets could so easily just exterminate them and just not allow them to name their children, to speak their language, to declare their game, the hunting, all of the animals that they cannot no longer hunt them and everything. They didn't want to attract any attention. So some people say, well, they achieved it because they closed the area for 4 years, but not the way they did, because they were flooded with, interrogations, and the people start looking at them. They didn't need that.
Right.
And all the sacred places and mountains and so on that, people talk about, I don't believe there was anything around there that was sacred. The Mansi people said that there is nothing there, and not exactly where they went. And all the talk about don't go there, but they don't finish the question. It's one Mansi hunter said they came to me and they asked me, can we see the maps and how is this area, and can you advise us what to do and where to go? And he said, don't go there because there are crevices and holes covered with snow and you will fall. And also there is wind. Why would you go there? And they said, because we're covering category 3 of we're going to get licenses and whatever. And he said, oh, so you want to make it difficult? Okay, go. Here is my map. Here is when the forest ends. But just be aware that there are crevices and holes where you can fall. That's why I don't go there. It's because it's windy and it's difficult and dangerous, not because they're gods or spirits or whatever. And the legends about the 9 Mansi hunters that disappear or died mysterious way are not confirmed. Also, I want to mention that the Otorten, it's not called don't go there. It's actually a Goose Nest Mountain or a Windy Mountain, one or the other. And Holatsa Hill, it's not. It's a dead mountain, but it's not because people die there, but because nothing grows on the slopes. And I kept calling Mountain of the Dead my page just because, for obvious reasons, because the people we're researching just died there. Otherwise, on the map, I'm calling it Dead Mountain the way the locals name it.
Now, I had a conversation with Mike Labicki, he was in the Russian Yeti, The Killer Lives, I'm sure you've watched that. And he actually admitted to me that a lot of that was not so accurate.
Come on, I mean, if you have spoken to him, how can he say that he traveled all the way there just to see the piece of paper where they say, now we know the Yeti lives? I mean, this is the flyer that was a humoristic, the piece of paper where they were talking about making jokes. This is one of the jokes on this piece of paper. And he spent all this money. Oh, I must go there and I must, we confirm that's true. I mean, come on, this is like getting a budget for a movie and you have to come up with something.
Yeah, I think that's basically what it boiled down to. Because he was kind of alluding to the fact that it was done not so authentically, which I was glad at least he told me.
Another thing is that, they made a big deal of the photo with the Yeti.
Yeah.
But this film was taken out of the camera. This is the last shot of a film. That's true. But it was just because the film ended, and then they had diary entries after this photo. They would have said something that they have seen a stranger following them, or there is a strange thing going on. I can tell you that I can recognize that this is the posture of one of them just going to relieve himself. I mean, the previous photos are them fooling around, falling in the snow.
Well, let me ask you this. Does the original negative of this exist as far as you know? Is anyone trying to enhance it and see if they can get a better image out of it?
To be truthful, I think because my favorite shows are from forensic files and cold cases and so on. I mean, if they just put all of these materials and sources through like you see it on the cold cases, I think they might find a lot of things, but it's just because it's Russia and all the documents are in Russian, and actually nobody did any work to find out. Of course, maybe FBI, they have labs to enhance photos, but I don't think nobody does it because they don't like the outcome of it. This is not Yeti, believe me. I mean, of course, I don't know who that is. Maybe if they enhance the photo, they can say who of the members is. I mean, that could be.
Right.
I think they can do something with the photo, but nobody, I mean, you understand that somebody has to actually pay for Americans to get involved. Nobody will invite them to do so. Right. Only people that max their credit cards and want to do a movie or a book do that, and they don't have the resources to enhance a negative. And I'm not really sure that they want to, because what if he went all the way there, he saw the flyer where it says, now we know a Yeti exists, and this is among one of the news like, a world record for assembly of a mobile stove, and could 9 hikers be warmed out with one blanket. Next to it is, we're in the mountains where we know Yeti lives. And he didn't say anything that this is a joke. He made a movie about it. Do you think he wants to spend money to enhance this photo and just find out this is Kulevato for any of the rest of the members?
I get exactly. Yeah, I get exactly what you're saying. What about from Paul Stonehill's note? He said this is an ongoing investigation. Are you familiar with people that are really seriously still investigating this?
Who said that it's an ongoing investigation?
Paul Stonehill.
I don't think anybody's investigating. Who is investigating? Russians, or what nationality is investigating?
Yeah,
this?
that was my question for you, if you were aware of anyone actually investigating currently.
Okay, can I say something about my site and how I'm involved in this?
Yes, absolutely.
Which will end up answering your question. Well, basically, I was in a horrible accident. I'm a traveler. That's what I do. I just go places in the world. So I was in the back of the truck going down a volcano in Indonesia, and the brakes didn't work, and I almost died. And I have a flail chest, much like Dubinina, and I had to undergo a lot of operations. So for 2 years, I was in and out the hospital. And then is when I just happened to see Devil's Pass, and I just wanted to forget about this movie when Yuri, my husband, said, you know that this is a real event. And I start looking at this real event, and I couldn't understand what happened, how did it happen, and for the next like 3-4 I just copy pasted everything that I could come across, and if I didn't like something, I made my own graphics, my own map, and I had to compare sources. And just the bottom line is only Russian sources, and I include Svetlana also in this because she speaks Russian, so whatever I can see through her the translation, so I know what she means. And by the way, my second name is Anatolieva, so I know Russian too. My father was a Russian, so I only now if I read something, I have to look into Rakitin and Svetlana to repeat it on my site. So basically, I did the site. And I allowed comments there. And then I was done with my operation, and I went to my next trip, which was in South America for 6 months. When I came back, and I traveled really wild, like no mobile devices, no internet, nothing. I just go with a dead wish, to get lost. And when I came back, I was surprised how many people actually contribute in the forum, and it's crazy. So my site is right now, I just need to fish out the things that they're saying in the blog there, in the site, in the comments, because there's so much information, but this is only by people that keep reading and digging and excavating and complimenting everything. And they're really, I love the people that are active on my site. And they really put the theories under scrutiny, and they contribute new facts, new information. So I just have to process that information. Everybody can go and just read so much information that people all around. The new thing is that's in English, because before only the forums in Russian were so rich of information and photos. Mm-hmm. And anybody English-speaking person who gets involved into this, they just write a book, make a movie, and close. They don't do a website with the information they find. I want all this public. I don't have any advertisement. I don't have any sponsors. This is my business. This is my server. This is what I do. I do it because I like the formatting and the information to be accessible. And I will put everything that I find new from the comments. I'll just put it on the site. That's my goal. I just want to put information together so it's easy to read. And I have to get rid of some stupid things like Thibault's fracturing the skull, which is really caved, could be caused by him sleeping on his camera. I mean, come on. I just read this on the site. I copy-pasted it from someplace, because if you want to publish only things that are confirmed and that make sense, there would be just photos, diary, and blank, because nothing makes sense. But things like that, sleeping on your camera and the avalanche came over and then they dragged him to the den to save him and things like that. I have to get rid of this. So that's what I'm saying. I don't do research at the moment. I'm just flooded with information, which is, believe me, if you just go in the comments, there's so much information there that my only role in this would be just to structure the information, clean it up, and just put it among the photos, among the entries. It's because I keep track of all of the resources in Dyatlov Mania. I keep there all the sites I come across, and they have some information. I'm going to start cleaning people that just copy paste, put advertisement, and they have one page for the case among any other information around, and that's not healthy because it's copy paste. If I find, for example, that's a very small example. Yuri Yudin, when they asked him, nobody asked him actually, but when they start getting the cameras, and they found the camera on Zolotaryov, which was like 3 months after they found the tent, and the tent there were 4 cameras, and then they found the 5th one. Now, what did Yudin say? Did he say, "Oh, there were more than 4 cameras," or did he say, "I'm surprised that there is a 5th camera on Zolotaryov"? I mean, there are 2 different sources for that. Rakitin said that Yudin kept saying that there are more than 4 cameras. In one sentence that's copy-pasted throughout the internet that says otherwise. And I cannot find the source of that, who said it first, but people keep copy-pasting. Like, how many clothes are radioactive? People keep copying 2 pants and a sweater, 2 pants and a sweater. And this is really, I mean, dangerous, because if you come across for the first time, you don't go research hundreds of sites to just, you know, get the idea what happened. This is what I do. I just verify everything that I read. You can't really verify it because it's a hearsay. You know, it's the only things that you can verify are from the Russian documents. But even in the Russian file case, the start date is 6th of February. I mean, how could it be 6th of February if they were expected to be back on the 12th? They were not even, you know, so it's a mess. But it's still not a mystery. Okay, it's just mess. And then why Lev Ivanov say the things and did the things he did? And what's that overwhelming force that the case was closed prematurely with, as a cause of what happened to them? It just, nobody knew what happened to them. And everybody was very, upset about the whole thing. But they didn't have an explanation of what happened. It's not a cover-up. Nobody has explanation how these injuries could be caused. Right. Obviously, it's a murder.
Now, one of the things I've heard someone mention was that it was almost as if you said a free fall on a hard surface, or like a car accident. That was very similar to that. There is a theory out there that I read somewhere where someone was saying it had to do with the way the snow melt, but I don't even understand what that theory. Have you ever heard of that one?
A snow melt.
The snow melt. During the snow melt, the injuries were caused. I mean, they were found in, what time of year were they found in? Was it almost in, not May, but it was March, right? The second group of, when were they found? With the injuries.
You mean last 4? The last?
Yeah, the last group.
4?
Yes.
The same night.
All right. Can you say that again, please? When were the last found?
No. Do you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now. When were the last found?
They were found in May.
In May. Okay, it was May. Mm-hmm. And they were found because the snow was melting. But obviously, injuries cannot be caused from some type of snow melt unless it was, really serious. It doesn't make any sense. But it's just another theory I've heard out there.
No. I'm just verifying. Okay, May 5th. I have a timeline on the homepage of my site. They all died 6 to 8 hours after the last meal, and they ate the same thing.
Ah.
Do you see? So basically, they all died in the time lapse of like 2 hours, time period of 2 hours from each other.
Ah, wow. And what would you think the cause of separation of the 2 different groups might be?
Well, it's obvious that they start dying. 2 of them died. I mean, the first 2 died, and it's then the other hid in the forest. I think the separation was because maybe one or both of them were on the tree, and the other just escaped, maybe in different directions, because the last 4 came back for some of the clothes of the first died.
Wow.
So basically, I think that they separated just because whatever chased them, whatever chased them, came to look for them around the fire, and they start hiding into the forest, into the darkness. Two of them couldn't hide, and they died first. The rest looks like they came back. I mean, three of them started going back to the tent. Why would they do that? Because the whatever was in the tent was no longer there. So they tried to go back and they froze. They already had some injuries. I think they were beaten before, I mean, at some point, maybe around the fire, maybe, some of them even in front of the tent, but they just scattered and hid. And they didn't hide, crawling back to the tent, and the four just escaped there. I don't believe that they, some of the scenarios say that they were around the fire and they discussed it and they had a different opinion of what to do. And then Kulgorova adopted, or maybe Zina went to see why Slobodin was missing, and he was already fallen due to the skull fracture, and Igor went after her. I don't think that was they delivered. If they together, they would stay together. It just, I think they had to hide.
Well, now the interesting one on your website, one of the last, I guess it's the last theory, is the gravity fluctuation. That's just it's quite bizarre. Has what do you think about that one? And these are scientists that came up with this?
Yeah. This is one of the things that people keep criticizing me, that I have to devise the theories that make some sense, like the stove, just exploded, and that's what, it doesn't make any sense. And the gravity theory is that, it took them out. Do you hear me?
Yeah, there is an issue with the microphone.
Yeah. So the gravity theory is that there are these tunnels with less gravity where they got sucked out, and that's how they broke the tent, which is, this is nonsense. I mean, it was cut with a knife. It wasn't. So, Martin, do you hear me?
Yes, I do. Yep.
Yes.
Not now.
I don't any weight on any of these theories. So far, I was. Hello?
Yeah, we're having some issues here a little bit, but keep going.
Okay, how about now?
Yeah, it looks like I am having trouble here on my end with internet. So I think we're going to have to call it a show. I'm not sure what's going on. I'm on the phone a lot with my cable company trying to figure out some issues. But I see it fluctuating really up and down right now. So anyway, I have, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the website. I have it text up on there. It's Dyatlov-pass.com. And please do check it out. It's actually, absolutely the most comprehensive website on this incident. And it's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Martin, for having me.
Sure, I appreciate your time very much. Right.
And for all the dwellers and searching souls, keep searching, keep reading, keep dreaming, and keep thinking.
And also, go to her website.
Don't forget.
Go to her website, check it out, and post your thoughts as well. All right. Take care.
Please.
Okay. Bye now. All right, everyone. I apologize for this issue with the sound. And next week, we are going to be back. This is a week from today at 8 o'clock. We're going to be on, or I believe it's 8 or 9. We're going to be on with Jeffrey Bennett. And it's about the theory of relativity. He is an astrophysicist and a brilliant man. Should be really a great show to watch. And thanks so much, and we'll be back next week.